welcome. I mean, a thank you for Diane. You know, attending to you, Diane. She did so much hard work.
If everybody would please take out their chemistry book and turn to page 54.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the biology of babies. No, that's what I feel like over here.
With the lectern and in the auditorium, I got PTSD all of a sudden. You can hear me. If you can't, please turn up your hearing aids, because it's not me. You can hear me all. Welcome, thank you. I need to know, how many of you heard me last year? Okay, thank you. All right. That's right, okay. All right, so you know most of the beginnings of my story, but I do recall that there was a lot that I wasn't able to share with you, and since then, and what has happened, to be able to even help you. It was really interesting because I just got back a couple of weeks ago from the Syracuse International Association of Near-Death Studies. And they have, you know, same type of thing. So many people all over the world that have all of these experiences. And I did a lot of work on it in between over the past year or so, talking about that. Even my own, and they also call it STEs, spiritual transformational events. And that's basically what I had. I actually had a couple of them. And so I was examining my story in comparison to everybody else's. And so I did some communication and work on it to find out. It's like, okay, why the NDEs? Why do they happen? I mean, we know nothing happens randomly. Nothing happens spontaneously, and there are no victims. So every experience you go through in your life happens for a reason. And the NDEs are no exception. And the NDEs have nothing to do with illnesses, accidents, nothing. Those are just the methods and the means to get you to where you need to be. Now, there's one thing that I was told, and I don't know if you were told this before, and when I said it to the people in Syracuse, they were like, oh, I never thought of that. You wouldn't need an NDE if you went along with everything easily. If you were waking it up inside, right? But in actuality, NDEs consider this as a grabbing by the shoulders and going, okay, you got a purpose here, are you going to do it this time? And the universe only does that, and you're part of the universe because of you. Because you said this time around, if I get off the path, get me back on. If it's taking me longer than what it should, get me going. Whatever I need this time around, I want to get to where I plan on getting. I want to evolve higher. I want to do what my purpose is. I want to achieve my dream. So, if I get caught up in life, as we have been doing for the past thousands of years, this time, I want you to help me out. So people think of NDEs, the after effect of the NDE, rather than paying attention to a lot of, well, why the NDE? Okay, we can say these medical reasons. I, had a heart attack and then they brought me back, right, type of thing. But you always have to ask, well, why did that happen? Why did that have to happen? Because then that places a value on the after effect, a greater value on the after effect. Why did I need to have the spiritual awakening I had, the spiritual transformation, to get me to this place? And it was for the same reason you may have had your NDEs, because you have a purpose. You have a goal this time around, and you wanted to make sure you were going to get to it. So you had this little shaking of the shoulder, and you're the one who did it. Because you got to remember something. The past, the present, the future all happen at the same time. Remember that? You've been told that? You've read that? So you are already on your path. You're already doing your purpose. But you have to make sure that that's happening. Before you came down here, before you incarnated, you put into the universe your plan. It's why you're supposed to honor your inner voice. It's why you're supposed to follow your inspiration, because you're having an inspiration because of something that's already there. Not because it's new. You know, us humans love to think we can come up with something new. Oh, I just discovered something new. I discovered the iPhone. That's great, right? No, you didn't. It's been out there for the longest time. It was waiting for you to tap into it because you're the one who put it there to start with. Nothing we can come up with on this earth is original. Nothing. It's all been created already by us as co-creators. And it's out in the universe. Plato knew that. Thousands of years ago, Plato said that in his philosophy of forms. He said the only reason why somebody can make a chair is because the form of it exists in another dimension already. In the mind of God is what we then added to that later on. It exists already. Wilbur Wright woke up one morning and ran to his brother and said, I've got a new thing we got to do together. I just saw people going through the air in this craft of some kind. Orville was like, are you crazy? Go back to bed. You drank too much last night. He said, no, you don't understand. If I saw it, that means it's real. He says, no, it's not. We can't fly. Yes, it is. If it wasn't here, it's got to be real. Henry Ford said the same thing. He saw, and the creator, he actually didn't create the combustion engine. It was created in Germany beforehand, but he saw it being mass-produced. He saw it in his head. Thomas Edison said the same thing. I see it I saw a bulb of some kind with light in it and electricity. Found the names of it later, but he said it was there. And if it was there, that meant it was real. And Albert Einstein even said, he believed that physics is God, and physics is everything that is real. And to him, all he needed to know was that stuff, because he knew he can make it happen. He can show it. He can prove it, because it was real. Because you cannot make up anything, right? So your NDE was already semi-planned in there, because you didn't go through anything new. You gave yourself that. It's just the same. Has people in here heard of out clauses, spiritual out clauses? How many people, or ways out, that maybe you'll come by it in a different way? Okay. You'll understand it maybe in a different light. When we come down here, especially now, we've gone through so many lifetimes, and through so many lifetimes we've gone, how many years? 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, I don't know how many years we've gone through, and we created a certain amount of karma. Well, after a while of doing that, and having to feel that we have to fix this karma, every time we come down now, we build in out clauses. So, in other words, we go through a certain number of years, and if we have not followed our soul's intention, we have a means to get out before we create more karma for ourselves that we have to fix. And those out clauses can appear in overnight deaths, dying in your sleep, aneurysms, just unexpected death, got hit by a car. It doesn't make a difference what it is. And we've heard a lot of that. This past year, 2016, there were so many transitions from all over the world. I mean, we saw it just in the entertainment field alone. I mean, it was star after star after star that was leaving. And some of them without absolutely no pre-warnings. Right? No pre-warnings. Debbie Reynolds was old, but she wasn't sickly. She left shortly after her daughter died. Like that. And then that's just the entertainers. All the people that I knew, 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 30-years, it doesn't make a difference how old they were. People were dying. Those are out clauses because we're building them in now. So we're building in some of these experiences to help get us on the path. So why do I bring this up? Why do you need to know that you shook yourself by the shoulder? Because you're supposed to be doing something with your NDE now. You're needing to get on a path. It's your own calling. You're calling yourself. You, God, the universe, has said, I've got to do something special. Oh, I've got to make an impact. And so you've been called to it. And it took me such a long time, to give in to my calling. Some of us are so obstinate. I know those who are laughing know exactly what I'm talking about as far as being obstinate. If we weren't obstinate, don't you think we would be more on the path now than we have been? You look around you. I do not paint pretty pictures. Not because I'm not an artist, because I need people to know what needs to be healed. If you keep painting pretty pictures, you never get to see what needs to be healed. So I am a spiritual teacher that will talk negative. I get that all the time, especially with what happened last year. You heard me. I was facing people online. Oh, you're a spiritual teacher. You're not supposed to be putting more negativity out in the world. I'm not putting it out in the world. I'm pointing it out in the world. There is a difference. So yes, so I can tend to sound negative sometimes. But it's not negativity. It's opportunity. It's opportunity for us to grow. Right? We like everything to be purposeful, but we need to wake up. We need to wake up now because we need, every single person in this room has now a quest and a mission. And you have to discover what that mission is. And the only way you're going to get to do that is by paying attention to who you are, your dreams, your desires, what's inside there. Let it come up to the surface. I've been talking with so many people that have incredible experiences, and not necessarily in a good way, in a very negative way, and it keeps getting worse and worse for them. Their lives aren't getting better and better, it keeps getting worse and worse. And it's because they hide behind those defense mechanisms. We all have defense mechanisms. And some of us just need, those defense mechanisms become so strong and so obstinate. And we need help breaking through them. Help me break down that wall so that I can be the best that I'm meant to be this time around. Even while you're sitting there, could be passing through your mind right now. Well, I know he's not talking about me. He's talking about that guy sitting down there in the front row. Not you personally. No, I know. Yeah, they are pointing to you. They all did just now. But just no. And I know those are defense mechanisms. But I can tell you right now, there's still, if you don't have the life you want right now and everything totally fulfilled, and you're making a difference in the world, you need to hear what I'm saying. If you're unhealthy, you need to hear what I'm saying. Because your health, your mission in life, your vocation, your finances, your relationships are all reflective as to what's going on the inside of you. It's not about life, because we create life. It's about you and what you're creating. So to change this out here, we have to change this in here. And let me tell you something. We need more NDEs because we need a lot more people woken up. I mean, you see what's the nonsense? Every single day now we wake up, there's something else to hear. And so we want to hide that and say, well, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay until we make it okay. Until we make it okay. There was a time before we completely destroyed our world. That was Atlantis. And that's the reason why we fear our power. Marianne Williamson wrote, our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It's our power and our light that we fear. It's because of the damage that we can do with it. And we did with it before. Now, do we have the possibility? Of course, we're great. We're divine beings, and people are being woken up. Is it better than what it was before? Un poquito, which means just a wee bit. No, it's not as good as what it's supposed to be. Because sometimes we're going backwards. Take away all our technology, and we're doing the same things now that Jesus Christ, when he came down, tried to stop. No different, just with a different background, and with bombs, and guns, and knives, and whatever, and politics. So, you're here because we need you. Oh my God, we need you. How do you walk around in your life knowing you've had a different experience, or even that you're on a journey and a quest, and not feel that was for a major purpose? You can't blindly walk around anymore. I wanted to take this extra time to talk to you people while you're even here before all the others show up. Because you question, you wonder, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? And you may have even heard all of this before, but if you're sitting here in this room now, it's not meant for you to go to sleep. It's meant for you to listen, because apparently you didn't hear it well enough before. You're at a special point in your life, all of you, all of you. I truly feel that. Because the universe and God doesn't waste my voice. Especially since it's so arrogant and obnoxious. Might as well use it for some good purpose. And it really is to wake you up. Okay? That's what your NDE was for. And each of you, in your experience, came back with something. You may not know what that something was, but the experience itself can be enough. You know, an enlightenment. You at least know one thing more than so many others in the world. Life continues. You tasted it, even if it was for a moment, brief moment. You tasted something other than this physical world. And that's meaningful, and that can be shared. Plus, I know you've got something else within you. So, when I went through my own experience and I had the spiritual awakening, and it wasn't easy for me, yeah, I mean, I've had other people that I've dealt with, and they see angels sitting on their beds one day. The Blessed Virgin appears to them, or Jesus appears to them. No, I was told I was a terrible student in a past life and I had to teach spirituality in this life in order to learn it. That's how I was told. And it was scary for me. And it was scary for my wife. Because it was about ready to change my entire life. Again, all I cared about, to remind you, is I was a professional entertainer. It's what kept me alive through my abuse and torment as a kid. Through my entire, for 17 years of my youth, not only was I abused at school by the kids, with my head shoved in toilets and shoved in lockers, beat up, chased every single day, then getting home and being beaten by my mother, who had obsessive compulsive disorder and borderline personality disorder, panic disorder, major depressive disorder, because she was sexually molested by her brother and cousin until she was 13 years old. And then I was sexually molested by my cousin across the street until I was 13 years old. And the parish priest, who was taking care of my mentally ill mom. Acting and performing kept me alive. The applause kept me alive. And you know what? Maybe it still is, but I don't care. Because this time it's not about and for me. That time it was about and for me. When I was performing and I got up on a stage, the applause I translated into, you love me, I'm lovable. That was the only thing I had. But then that would go away real quick the next day as soon as I was beat up again by the people who were applauding me at the show the day before, in school, or ridiculed and humiliated by my parents. because I didn't have to lead in the show, I only had a part in the show. Why can't you be the lead? So, that stayed with me for such a long time, and when I had the spiritual awakening, which had to be so hard and forced at me, with all of this stuff coming and packing into my head that I had to speak. I mean, one of the things that happened right away is I started trancing. And not by choice either. Again, the way I was introduced to it, between all the psychics and everybody I was guided to that was telling me I was going to be a spiritual leader, the soul of Jesus was around me, and he was going to give me the words, and then I was instructed, use a Ouija board to start with. So now I've got to go to KB Toys to talk with God. Because that's where it is. That's where you buy it. KB Toys. It's a toy. Or any toy store. Toys R Us has it now. Back then I went to KB Toys. And I'm using the board, and the board is getting very frustrated with me because it's taking long. You know, you're trying to spell out some words. I had to pray and meditate beforehand. That's why I was allowed to use it. And I'm going around. And it finally got so frustrated it said, put me aside. So I put it aside, and that's when everything came down into me, and I felt a sudden urge to start speaking. And everything started coming out of me, and these words and philosophies and meaning of life, as I said. Then I started reading minds. I was telling my wife, my friend, what they were thinking before they were going to say it. How did you know I was going to say that? I have no idea. It was in my head. And I was seeing dead people. You know, and I think about it, and I go back, and I said, when you think about your own NDE, it's still always shocking to you. You always sit there and go, oh my God, did that really happen? Did I make that up? You know, wow. Whew. You know, I every so often, I try to look at, when I go into my past, and I go, wow, that must have been so special for that to happen. Wow, isn't that cool? Just to feel good about it. I'm different. I had a different experience. No, and then the responsibility comes right behind it and says, okay, so I experienced that. Now what am I supposed to do with it? And that's all I kept asking is, what am I supposed to do with it? What am I supposed to do with this? So at first they told me study, so that I understood. I was only 28. So I studied. I read everything. I was guided to all the Edgar Cayce material. And I built that foundation there. What am I supposed to do with it? I was still going after being an actor and being a performer. Nobody told me I wasn't supposed to do that yet. They were building me up. And we talked to family members. Oh, God. Don't talk to family members about your experiences. You think they caused dysfunction in you before. They want to lock you up. They don't understand it. They're not meant to understand it. For some reason, everybody thinks your family are the people that you're supposed to be going to for support and acceptance of everything you do. No, they're not. They're to remind you of all the things you want to change in your life. This is your big family. We're supposed to be getting along with everybody. Jesus sat there giving parables. His brother and his mother came in. He was completely ignoring them. And one of his disciples said, Jesus, your mother and brother are here and you're ignoring them. And he turned around and he said, are any of these people here less my mother and brother than they are? No, they are my brothers and my mother and my sister too. Then he went up and he said, sorry, Mom, I just had to say that, you know. But no, that's the point. We're all brothers and sisters. So, yes, we shared it. I was sharing my experience. And, oh, they thought we were, you know, we're crazy. Yeah, maybe. We're trying to show them things. It wasn't about trying to get their acceptance, but that's what we do. We go to everybody else to get acceptance of us. Here's a trick. There's only 2 people in the world that were supposed to teach you were lovable. Only 2. And then they were supposed to teach you how to love yourself, and those are your parents. If they did not fulfill your needs, your emotional needs then, there isn't another person in the world other than you who can ever fulfill them again. Not your spouse, not your partner, not your friends, nobody. You. You're the only one who can fulfill those needs at this point. And you're the only one who's supposed to. So, I had all of this, and I'm a performer. And again, I didn't know what to do with it, or I was getting the guidance of what I was meant to do with it, and I didn't want to listen to it. I didn't want to listen to it. And more importantly, all right, so now people were telling me, you're a psychic. No, I'm not. I'm an actor. You're psychic too, you're psychic. No, don't say that. Psychics are kooky people. Yeah, oh yeah, that's what kookies, loonies, all coming from California, right? All kooks over there. That was in my mind. And a medium seeing dead people? Yeah, okay, yeah, that's real. Oh, that was not in my life at all, in our lives. I mean, we come from small towns on Long Island. I'm from Levittown, she's from East Meadow. We didn't know of psychics there. We knew of farms and tract homes. And get a job. I was the black sheep of the family because I wanted to be somebody famous. I wanted to be an actor. Could you imagine me turning around and telling my mother when I was younger, I want to be a psychic and talk with dead people? I would still be in Bellevue today asking for somebody to let me out. So, here's the greatest thing about the universe, guys, and you. You never stop pushing yourself. You never stop giving yourself messages. And that's also the God force with you. You never stop trying to wake you up. So all of the circumstances that happen in your life that seem negative are opportunities. I had 10 readings yesterday alone. And almost every one of them was about getting pushed out of the career that they were in to finally do what they wanted to do for the longest time, but never had the courage to really leave. I can't. I've only got 3 more years of till I retire. I can't. I've got children. I need a steady paycheck. I can't. I need the insurance. My spouse is sick. There's so many can'ts we put on ourselves. And yet, we keep getting pushed and pushed. And then all of a sudden, our health starts to get bad. Oh, I can't work as good as I did before. Or work starts to become stressful. Oh, they changed management. It's so hard. I've got so much stress on me. I don't even know how I'm going to make it through anymore. And so the universe keeps pushing and pushing, and that's with you in it. Until one day, either you lose your job because it ends, or somebody comes up with some reason to fire you, or now you're disabled, either emotionally. Do you know how many disabled people there are in the world that are not working anymore and they're on disability? And it starts at 20. I've got 20-year-old clients that are on disability and can't work. And it's all because they're not pursuing their purpose. Because they're scared. Because they were never nurtured into believing they could. Every one of you here right now not only came in with a purpose, came in with a dream and a passion. If you know it, great. But most people don't know their purpose and passion. They feel it inside. That's why they call me up and come to me, make an appointment with me. They know it's in there. It's twisting at your gut. But you're doing everything you can to push it down. Because at the end of this lifetime, and you're on your bed getting ready to transition, and your best friend is sitting next to you, or your lover, and says, so, did you do everything you wanted to this lifetime? And you're evaluating, and you're turning around and saying, you know what? I had a decent life. I was responsible. Had a job that had a good paycheck. You know, But, you know, I never went after any dreams or purpose like other people said. But I did okay. I raised a family. I just didn't know what my dreams were. You know what I mean? I didn't know. I didn't know what my passion was. So that's scenario A. The scenario B. You're still laying in bed there. You're still transitioning. Your best friend or lover's there with you and they're talking. So did you live this like, oh, you know, I had all these dreams and this great purpose before I got here. And I didn't do shit. And you know why? Because I was scared to hell. So scenario B, scenario A, which one do you think feels better while they're crossing over and getting to the other side? Scenario A, who turns around and said, I didn't know what my dreams were. Or scenario B says, I was just a big chicken shit and that's why I didn't go after anything. Who do you think is going to feel better? What do you think, B or A? Who says A? Who says A? You really think turning around and saying that you're a chicken shit is going to make you feel good? No, it doesn't. That's why you've come up with all the defenses you've come up with. Because you're afraid to say, I failed. So that's why you're suppressing your dreams now, is because you're afraid you're going to fail at them. Because you were never taught that you won't. You aren't taught that. From the moment we start understanding and hearing, we're told, no, don't do that. No, you shouldn't do that. No, you're bad when you do that. No, 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 no. Then when we get old enough to be taken to some religious service of some kind, if it's Christian, you're a sinner. Say prayers because you're bad. Okay? Yes. And I want you to remember how painful it was for Jesus to be up on that cross. You nailed those nails in his hand. Do you feel good about that? No, good. You're supposed to feel guilty. Okay, good. Did you see what you did to your sister? Do you see how you made her cry? Now you go in your room and think about how bad you are. You got a C? A C? You do better than that. There's no more game playing on TV until you come home with an A. You're not going to make it into college unless you have a 5.5 GPA. So you got to take all these AP courses, go out and volunteer 40 hours a week, and get your homework done. Doesn't make a difference. Make sure you're in 10 different clubs. Do some leadership work, volunteer, and then you'll make it. That's the messages, all the messages we hear. So you're going to turn around and tell me you feel good about going after your dreams? First of all, you wind up feeling bad you have any. Because you're supposed to be responsible. Dreams aren't responsible. They're fantasies. We've been taught that too. Stop fantasizing when you're sitting in the classroom with a boring teacher. So we don't even visualize greater lives anymore. And then you wonder, why did I have my NDE? So that somewhere, something inside of you can say, you're more than. You're more than. You're more than this, and we need you. And I'm serious about we need you. We need you. There is so much, okay. I'm not political, and I'm not planning on talking about politics, but I am planning on talking about human values. And I am planning on talking about negative feelings. What you saw happen in 2016 with this election, we all caused. And it has nothing to do, like I said, with politics or policies or anything like that. It has to do with we sweep everything we don't like under the carpet. That's how I've got CDs out there. One of them is God, It's Not Working. One of my best, powerful lectures. I just turned it into a book. And hopefully the next time you're here, you'll see that book out there being published. I've been asked for the manuscript by a major publishing company. And it's about how different parts of our mind create these defense mechanisms that get in the way and stop us. And what happens is the brain, the human mind, there's two primary functions of the brain. The most important functions of the brain is, one, to keep us alive. Two, to protect us. Okay, so it does it biologically. We know how that happens, right? If you're lacking oxygen, your brain will make you pass out. Okay, it's not the lack of oxygen that's causing you to pass out. It's your brain purposely making you unconscious momentarily so your body goes down in a reclined position. When you're laying down and you're unconscious, you take in better breaths. Okay? So it purposely does that. It doesn't pay attention to the fact that as you're passing out, you happen to be near the coffee table and smack your head on the coffee table when you lay down. It's not considering the after results. All it knows is what it needs to do right now. When you have a bug inside of you, be it a virus of any kind, your temperature rises. Your brain is doing that because bugs and bacteria cannot live in a higher temperature. It's not taking into consideration that the temperature is making you feel very uncomfortable. And what we do absolutely wrong, and why we always wind up having sicknesses, oh, months, it's been months. I've had this cold for 10 years. Because we take Tylenol to lower the temperature, and so we make it more livable for the bacteria to sustain life in our bodies. Because a fever is uncomfortable. Well, what does it do for your mind when the pains are uncomfortable? It creates a new set of beliefs, and it uses defense mechanisms that Freud talked about: repression, suppression, regression, rationalization, intellectualization, and all the rest of them, in order to create a new set of beliefs to protect us and shield us from the old set of beliefs. Okay? So it sweeps the negative under the carpet. And we don't deal with our own pains. Every single health problem, no matter what it is, whether you need a cane, whether you have heart disease, high blood pressure, cancer, breathing issues, COPD, allergies, I don't care what it is. It's all of those emotions swept under the carpet you've not dealt with, you're imploding. We, as energies, control everything that's physical. Energies manipulate matter. Our bodies are made of matter. They're completely biological and physical. So we control the cells of our bodies. And your emotions put a charge to your power and your energy, either a positive charge or a negative charge. So you're sweeping all the negative energy, because the positive energy you want to feel, those positive feelings you allow yourself to feel, but the negative feelings you pack away. So what happened this past year was an explosion of negative feelings out of people. Angers, prejudices, they're all defense mechanisms that are protecting us. It is better, it's easier for me to hate your guts than mine. It's easier for me to come up with some excuse why. Oh, you're a woman, you don't know, you don't deserve as much as a man does, as me. Rather than, I'm inadequate and you're so far better than me. Right? I'm inadequate. It feels better to blame you than me. So we come up with all those prejudices. If we did not see what happened this past year, we'd still keep it packed away within inside of us. So you may not be one of those people, but you are in your own life suppressing. We're going to be taking a break now. When we come back, 1 minute. When we come back, We're going to go into further. I'm going to share more with you, and I'm going to go into actual demonstrations with you. But I need you to think between now and when you come back, what within you you're suppressing that's keeping you from using all your gifts, including your experience, whether it's a spiritual transformation or an NDE, what's in there that you can bring out to open up the rest of you, okay? Enjoy your break.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are we good? Oh, good. Well, welcome back, everybody. Wasn't that an amazing little break we had there?
Already, okay. So how many of you just joined us? Can you please raise your hand? You missed the best portion of my lecture, and now you're going to get the worst part. Sorry. Right? Everybody else who was here, that was incredible, right? We had some people floating. We did levitations. Right? I'm sorry you missed it. No, that's okay. Did I make you feel guilty enough there? All right. All right, thank you for returning. We briefly were just talking about the NDEs and being shaken by the shoulder to get you back on the path and of way you wanted to go. And I was sharing my part of the story, and I'm going to continue, but a couple of things I want to mention first. First, I hate selling myself. That's why I have people doing that for me, and I hate selling my products. But I have to mention, I've got 3 CDs out there. 2 are lectures. God, it's not working. Like I said earlier, which is the premise of my book, it's one of the most important lectures that you can hear to understand why you may be trying things, why you can take a class, why you can read a book, go to a conference, and still end up saying, God, it's not working no matter what you try to do to create the life you want. That CD and lecture explains it. It's very worth listening to. The second one, I am the controversial spiritual teacher. We are at a point to go to the next level. All of the teachers before, all of the spiritual authors, they did great jobs. Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra. They did exactly what they needed to do to get us to a new consciousness. However, we need more now. We need the next level. We need a higher level and more detail. So I wind up, actually, correcting some of this stuff, filling in the gaps, and sometimes it's a little conflicting information. The way I look at it is, when you went to elementary school and you started to learn history, they taught you history one way, the way they figured you could accept it. Now all of a sudden, if any of you went to college and had to take any college history courses, oh my gosh, it was a whole new adventure. You were hearing all of these things and reading all of these things that they didn't teach you when you were in elementary school, because they didn't think you could handle it then, and you were mature enough in college to handle it now. That's exactly the way I feel my work is. When you first are learning this stuff, they're trying to take you along to get you to a newer level, a level beyond science, beyond religion, okay, to understand who you are. You need to go to the next level now. So one of my best CDs, my second best CD out there, lecture, is God and Your Ego Are One. If you ever hear anybody tell you that your ego gets in the way, walk away, because they are not going to feed you the right information from that point on. Your ego is God's gift to you. And that's how you distinguish yourself. It is not your ego that gets in the way. It's your defense mechanisms that get in your way, which has nothing to do with your ego. Your ego is your consciousness that defines your individuality. That's all it is. Right? Our problem is not that our egos are overinflated. Our problem is we have no ego. We have no ego. As a psychotherapist, I could not do therapy with people who are so low because they wouldn't be able to hear what I had to say to them. We literally assess who we could help and who we cannot help. You needed to have at least some ego strength to do the work. So it isn't that we have over. All the narcissists of the world have no ego. They're using everybody else's. That's why they read. That's why, and here's the greatest thing. And there's the greatest narcissist right now that is presenting himself in front of everybody so you understand what he's doing and you understand yourself. A narcissist does not spend time talking about only how wonderful he or she is. Okay? If I wanted to make these lights brighter, I've got two choices. I can put in higher wattage light bulbs, right? How's the second way I can make these lights brighter?
Dim these.
Dimming all the rest. Listen to him. He does nothing but dim everybody else's lights. That's what a true narcissist does. That's how they make themselves feel better. They feel so lowly, they got to make other people feel lower than them. That's how they feel higher. They have no ego. So that lecture out there talks all about that. And think about that with yourself. We really need to spend time boosting ourselves up. There was a man who was on the earth who gave pure example of that. Jesus. Jesus was claimed to be one of the most humble spiritual leaders at that time, right? And then it went all the way to the Dalai Lama now. But Jesus walked around saying nothing but, I am. I am. I am the way and the truth and the life. I am the good shepherd. I am the light of the world. I and my Father are one. It was I. Based on our definition today, he was the most egotistical man that existed. So what made him so humble then? What made him humble was the rest of the sentence that we cut off, not us. The Nicene Council in 535 AD ran through the entire Bible that was written at that time and cut it to pieces to control us. The rest of Jesus' words were, I am the way and the truth and the life, and so are you. I am the light of the world, and so are you. Humility is recognizing your greatness and everyone else's. That's what makes you humble. It serves absolutely no purpose to bring yourselves down low so that your neighbor can feel good about him or herself. We don't feel good down there to start with. Why would we all want to be down there? You need to feel great about yourselves. That's what our problem is. And each and every one of you have something to give. And like I said earlier, for those of you who weren't here, you only had your NDE to wake that up. Could we always talk to God? Of course we could always talk to God. Of course. But do we believe we can talk to God? And more importantly, that God is willing to talk back to us? I know people pray all the time, but you're full of crap. You really are when you pray. Unless you truly believe to expect a response back. Do you believe you're high enough to talk with God? I don't know, maybe you needed the NDE to know that God was talking to you. And now all of a sudden you hear it. Good for you. But we don't think of ourselves on the level of God. So don't tell me you have, oh, I talk with him all the time. Yeah, now, oh, he talked with me. He drops everything he's doing when I'm talking to him. No, we don't feel that way at all. So you know what we do? We look for our spiritual guides. My guides talk to me. They're on the other side going, what? Did Terry call you again today? Yes. When is she going to understand she can talk directly to the source? She keeps bothering me. I was watching This Is Us, and she called me. No, because I'll ask you right now. And you can't lie to a psychic. How many of you only have a conversation with God? And not even your neighbor. And not even ask questions of your friends and guidance from your friends or family or your boss. Very few. Very few. And even if you do talk to God, you got to seek validation that that was right. Hey, I don't want to talk myself out of business here, but you know how busy I am as a psychic? And you know what I'm doing most of the time? Telling you what you already know, but you can't hear it from you. Oh, all of a sudden, come to Vinny, he's going to change your life forever. Yeah, I can, but it's only because I'm telling you what you already have and know about yourselves, but can't trust and don't want to trust, because you feel like lowly people. Your spiritual teachers, your healers, your artists that can paint a picture so that when somebody else is looking at it, it touches something in their heart. You can play music that allows us to meditate, that vibrates with us. You can be in communication with deceased loved ones, mediumship. How many of you consider yourselves psychics or mediums? Or have the ability? Good, okay. All right. Well, we all have the ability. Every single one of you should have raised your hands. But we don't tap into that ability because we live in this mundane life. But who wants to listen to the guidance of mundane life when you have the guidance of the mind of God? Right? So everyone needs to learn that. I hold classes now, and I do it through teleconference so people all over the world can open up. My classes, usually people who want to expand their psychic and mediumship ability or even start it, but it winds up being life-changing because that's what I work on to start with, clearing your channels, which is going to change the whole life, not just this portion, not just make you a psychic and a medium. It's going to change everything because we got to open you up. Once you're opened up, you're tapped into all of that. So mediumship become a real big fad. And especially what James Van Praagh started it on TV, then John Edwards after him, now the Long Island Medium. There's only two things the Long Island Medium and I have in common. Hair product. We go to the same store. Yeah, mediumship, and I'm going to do some demonstrations today. Mediumship has become very popular because it's always been popular because we've always wanted to talk to the dead. Always. But not because of what you think. And we've been doing it all over the world, much longer than the United States has ever been doing it. England has been doing it since the time of its history. Because, bless you, because it knew. Now it's coming from me, from God, right to you. I've channeled that blessing. So it's revered in certain places. Over in the United States, it became sensationalized. Ooh, we can talk with the dead. But there's only one reason why we want to, and I'm going to tell you something right now that all of the mediums that are in the room will not like to hear, but you need to hear. We shouldn't be doing mediumship. But they're allowing it. And the reason why they're allowing it is because they know we need help. But when you move on and you're to the other side, you're supposed to be taking care of your own business and moving on and evolving. And you know that everybody is going to be okay here. getting together all your past lives and seeing what else you want to do. But how can we die peacefully today when we know we've left behind a mess? Or somebody who's hurting that we love. So the major reason why people want to make mediumship connections with their deceased loved ones is to find out whether they were really loved. Don't give me the nonsense when you come to me, Mom died a few months ago and I want to know she's okay. No, you don't. If she died and she had cancer, of course she's okay, because she's not experiencing cancer anymore. And if you're coming to a medium, you obviously believe in life after death. So what is it you really want to know? And sometimes it takes a little digging, but I won't let them ask the wrong question. And finally, they get to, was I good? Did I help you? Was I a good son? Was I a good daughter? Do you love me? That's why we ask. And that's why they come back. Because they know, the majority of them, look, this isn't Brady Bunch World, that's a TV show. You know, we make mistakes. We don't take care of our own issues. We're going to pass them down to the kids some way or another. How many marriages are still together that started out as a family and we think we just, again, brush those things aside? It causes pains. It causes problems. Yeah, am I pointing them out? Absolutely, but not for the reason of making you feel bad, for the reason of understanding that it really is okay. There is nothing you can do on the earth that is so terrible that you lose your divinity. Nothing. You are God. I know we hate to think these things, but Adolf Hitler is over there right now and not in a hell. He created hell for himself over here. He was sexually molested by his mother and father until he was 13 years old. He wasn't trying to conquer the world. He was trying to conquer his pains. And even as lashing out and killing 6 million Jews, he's still over there getting love from his brothers and sisters and angels and God to try to help him let go of that and feel better about himself. You only lash out when you're hurt. You don't lash out when you feel love. Osama bin Laden was sibling 51. 51. 50 brothers and sisters using rivalry to get attention from any of the moms and one dad. Never felt love. Lack of love is fear. And fear turns into hate when you know you're supposed to be loved. So yes, they're all forgiven. So I point out the mistakes, of course, because you want to hide them because they feel so bad. Stop hiding them. They're not so bad. But we're supposed to have direct connection with God. That's the whole reason why I started this conversation, is because we don't. We're afraid to. He's not going to answer us. I can't trust it. How do I know it's real? You have to honor it. You have to face all of your fears in order to unblock. So here I am in my life, and being a performer and a very strong personality, I mean, I have to tell you that because I'm sure by this point you don't know that I have a strong personality. And so, I created this false confidence. And it got me through some things. That's what got me in the movie Grease as a singer and dancer. It was false confidence. And so while this was happening to me, I mean, I thought I was believing in myself okay, but I still wasn't using it. There was a fear. There was an underlying fear of, what am I supposed to do with this? How do I make a living out of it? And things started happening to me. So I had a second STE, spiritual transformational event. I wound up putting aside the acting because I asked for guidance, and I was actually being considered for a leading role in a replacement part of in the Broadway musical Les Miserables. At the same time, while I was thinking about getting a full-time job, I was being considered as a motivational and entertainment trainer for this disc jockey company that did parties and weddings all over. Bands were phasing out because of the cost, and so brides and people were hiring disc jockeys to play at their affairs, right? And this was one of the largest disc jockey companies in the New York and Philadelphia area, and in New Jersey, and that was a guided interview right there because I figured maybe I need to get some stable job. And so I was up for either Les Miserables over here or this motivational teacher over here, and asked for the guidance. And in the same day, at 11 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call from Les Miserables, the casting directors. No, we're not going to ask you to come back. We're not interested. And at 11:05, I got a phone call. Yes, you're hired. We created a position for you. So I went in this direction. So that's what I started to do. I was a motivational person in an entertainment company. Eventually, I started my own business, so I was DJing and motivating at the same time. But I wanted more. I didn't know what to do. And a transformational event. And at the same time, I started doing my readings part-time. Somebody told me I should do readings. Oh, God, now I'm going to use tarot cards. All right. But I still didn't have psychic on my business card. I was an intuitional counselor. It sounded so much more acceptable and less moody. And I got hooked up with a psychic fair, right? And we traveled along the coast of New Jersey on the Garden State Parkway each Sunday. And I started building up a very big following from that, but part-time, and very few people knew I was doing that. This is my wife. She was with me everywhere since I was 17. And I'm full-time in my business, trying to do that part-time, was very unhappy with the business, didn't know what else to do, turned again to God, help me, help me, help me. Bam, I was in a car accident and sustained physical injury. I could no longer DJ. Back in my days, we were carrying crates of LPs. You know, up and down in all of the catering facilities, LPs. They think they have it difficult today. They put in a flash drive in this little thing. You know, and they call that disc jockeying. So I couldn't work anymore. And actually, it was one of my clients from readings that I did turns around and says, you know what? You got to become a therapist, man. You should go back to school and become a psychotherapist because I get more help from you than I get from my own therapist as a psychic. And so the light bulb went off, and again, my wife, she's a misbeliever in me and everything that I do, and she said, what a great idea. So I decided, I said, you know what? Now I don't have to put up a palm. I don't have to be Brother Vinny next to Sister Sarah. Okay, I can put in a psychotherapist. All right, so I'll be a psychic psychotherapist. So I went back to school full-time. We had 2 children. It was very difficult. My wife's salary was the salary only supporting the 4 of us. I stopped working altogether, and I went full-time to school. 7 years later, it took me 7 years, I got my undergrad degree in psychology and my graduate degree in master's in social work to be a clinical social worker. And I started counseling. I had my own practice. I was set up right away. I originally interned at UNC University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I interned there for the Counseling and Psychological Services Department of the university. And as soon as I graduated, they hired me for a year and then basically set me up in my own practice outside of the university, referring over all the overflow students to me. So it came on like that. It was so easy. I opened up a second office because I needed to do two, one in Raleigh, one in Chapel Hill. Eventually, you know, as a therapist, anybody who has their own practice, you know that your income winds up being dependent solely on those, you know, coming to you. If they cancel, you lose out. And I was concerned about that. We did have 2 kids. So I wound up being directed and offered a job for Duke University and Medical Center in their hospice department. So I became a hospice social worker. And I loved the idea that I had this clinical background now, but it was so funny because all my supervisors always said, Vince, I don't know, what you do, man. You must have a 6th sense. You diagnose these people within 5 minutes of meeting them and 100% accurately when it takes us a couple of sessions before we even know it's wrong. Wow. I guess you're natural at this. And going, yeah, I guess, yeah. I was using my psychic ability all the time. Clients would come to me and they weren't spending 12 years with me. They'd spend 4, 5, 6 sessions the most, because I was able to get right down into the work. However, I was forced now to follow a certain way. And now I'm working for a corporation. Vinny and corporations mix like oil and vinegar. Because I don't like following other people's policies, especially when it's all about the money and not about the client. And so after 6 years of working there and helping 500 people transition, and their caregivers, I still wasn't doing this full time. Because I wanted to be a psychotherapist and be legitimate. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is wasting people's time. I can get to the core of the problem. I'm working with the dying. They're all miserable about dying, how they're dying. The major thing I learned about that is you will die the way you live. Okay? Listen to me, and listen, this is the last time I'm going to say this. You will die the way you live. I promise you this. This is one thing I can absolutely guarantee you. And you can come back and haunt me if I'm wrong. And as a medium, you'll do a good job of it. If you turn around and start living a peaceful, loving life, you never have to worry about how you're going to transition. Never. You maintain the negativity, the self-criticisms and denigrations, the lack of self-love, all the anxiety you hold in your life, you will not pass prettily. We're in total control of it. I saw it. I saw it. And unfortunately, when you're on hospice, you're usually suffering a longer dying process rather than in your sleep overnight. And the majority of my clients were petrified of dying because they didn't think they were good enough. In the beginning, if they didn't believe in heaven, now they're questioning it and whether they were going to hell instead. I lived in the Bible Belt in Raleigh, North Carolina, the Bible Belt. You cannot profess your religion any more than the people that live in the Bible Belt. They were perfect Christians until they were diagnosed with a terminal disease. Now all of a sudden they were nothing. It fell by the wayside. And I saw that. So that's how I know you will die the way you live. And so it was very frustrating because now that I knew I could help them, I can help you live. Don't wait until we get to that point to help you. Let me help you before that point. And so I left the profession because there's guide rules. I mean, you got a license. Don't give your client the answer because it's always best for them to come to it themselves. Bullshit. Why? Because if you could come to your answer, you wouldn't have had this many lifetimes trying to get it. You would have resolved it already. So you get a little help. You're the one who still has to accept the answer. It's not me. I can give it to you. I can see it. And I do see it. I give it to you. Now you got to do something with it. It's not up to me. So what if you get it faster? So I gave up being a licensed psychotherapist, even though I still have the training. I know the human mind upside down and inside out. And now I know inside the human mind because of the psychic part. So I went right back and I said, God, I got to learn to stop doing that. Because each time I turn to God and say to help me, I get a tidal wave or a car accident. So the second time I turn to him, I say, you got to get me out of this business and get me into what I'm supposed to do. I can very proudly say, as a male, that there have been 2 times in my life I was hit on by a beautiful young blonde. And both times they were in their cars. I could leave off the they were in their cars part and just enjoy and be, you know, that part, but no. The second time, girl on the phone, young girl driving an SUV, smashes behind me, and I sustained brainstem injury to such an extent, back in 2008, I had double vision. I could no longer drive. I was unsafe for driving. Also had balance issues. Not only did I have to leave my job, I had to leave my profession. Because as a clinical social worker, they want to know that you are a licensed driver, just in case you have to do any community outreach. So I had to leave social work. I had nothing. I didn't know what to do. Boom! Right in my mailbox is how I could be a mover and shaker. Spiritual mover and shaker. Hay House was giving a course. Become a mover and shaker. Never seen it before. Never. And it stuck out. It was in bold. Wow, I can be a mover and shaker. I took the course. Had already been thinking for a long time of people telling me all the time, you got to write a book. 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 I wanted to smack people for telling me I got to write a book. Because I didn't want to write a book yet. I knew I needed to. They were telling me the book that I finally finished was 10 years in the making, people. You better buy it when it comes out. Another email. You can become the next top spiritual author. Free classes with Neil Donald Walsh, Marianne Williamson, and other successful authors. Free. That was also in my email box that I have never seen before. So here I took a class. I took that one. And I had a chance. There was 2,000 contestants. I was all brought all the way down. I started writing my book, which, by the way, the beginning part of it was edited by the editor who wrote The Shack, the movie, right? The book. So that's become a successful movie. By the way, go see that movie if you haven't. It's absolutely phenomenal and exactly what I believe to be the God representation and how it has what it does in our lives, right? Go and see it. Fabulous. So the editor of that book edited the beginning of my book that's to come out. And so here these two things are going, and as I'm doing that, and I finally say, okay, I'll be a full-time spiritual counselor and psychic. Help me. I started getting phone calls for readings. I didn't even put an ad out. They heard about me. Like, how did you hear about me? I don't know. So call upon call came in. Then people were guiding me to do expos and speak at expos. And it just kept falling into its place. And I said, okay, I accept this. this is what I'm going to do. I am a psychic and a medium and a spiritual teacher. Bring it on. And finally I heard everybody up there going, oh, hallelujah! Holy crap! Took you long enough. I can't tell you how it flowed from that point on. And I was saying, look, let me know everything I need to know. I'm going to make believe. I know I had the spiritual awakening. I know I downloaded all this information about life. I can tell everybody about it. But I don't know what I was doing wrong. I'm just going to leave myself open for that. I had to let go of what everybody was calling the ego, right? The defense mechanisms, actually, and just say, I know nothing. Tell me what I need to know to get this going to the highest level I can get it. And the funniest thing happened. All of a sudden, we have friends over. One of the colleagues Eileen used to work with, and his girlfriend, and we're having dinner, and she turns around and she says, oh, you know what? I'm becoming a life coach, and I need practice students. I need practice clients. Would you help me out with that? I know you know everything I'm going to be teaching you anyway, but maybe you can just fill in and just help me out. I said, sure. I'm like, yeah, she'll be great, but she's not going to tell me anything new. I already knew it, but I went along with it. And one day, after I said, you let me know what I need to learn, she's on the phone with me and she said, you know what I just discovered about you? With all you do and all you know, there's one thing that you don't do. You don't believe in yourself. What the hell are you talking about? Of course I believe in myself. So now I'm going to correct the student there. No, I do. No, you don't. Listen. And she laid it out, and it was a light bulb going off. I really thought I believed in myself. With everything that had gone on, I thought I believed in myself. I didn't realize that the reason why I was slowing the process down is, as an actor, I knew that for years, right? I knew I was good. At least I was told that 1,000,001 times, right? So I was confident in that. As a psychic, I didn't know. As a psychotherapist, all right, the clients, they tell you, you don't know if they're going out after they have a visit with you and they kill somebody. I didn't get all the information unless they tell me afterward, I'm helped, unless you tell me I'm helped. I have no idea, right? I speak to you, you're gone, or you come back, or whatever. So I didn't really know if I was that good. I just did it. And so she came to the conclusion with everything that I was telling you, you don't believe in yourself. And I accepted that. And the moment I admitted it and accepted it, see, here's the thing. The moment you admit your negative self-feelings, number one, they sound silly. Right? I tell people that all the time. I want you to turn around and say, the reason why you didn't get a promotion at your job is because you don't think you're good enough. It has nothing to do with your boss. It has to do with you. Say that out loud. I don't think I'm good enough. Your intellect turns around and goes, that's silly. But until you admit that that's your feeling and recognize that's what you're really feeling, you can't change it. Once you do admit it, you can go, wait a minute. You didn't come this far not being good enough. You have to be good at least something. All of you in here, unless you're some psycho criminal that we don't know about, and an escapee from the local prison, you've accomplished something, have gotten somewhere in your life, maybe not everything you've wanted, but you've done something. You are good enough. But if you don't admit you're not feeling that, I will give you a formula how to figure out what it is, the negative self-belief you have. 1, if you are not married, to somebody that you are crazy in love with, and who's crazy in love with you, it's because you don't believe you're lovable. That's it. Has nothing to do with your partner, because you attracted that partner. And if you have no partner, you're pushing away people. The most natural thing on this earth is love and relationship. There are 7.2 billion people on it, and over here in the Chicago area, you've got 5 billion of those people, basically. Now, you've got enough people every single day of your life you come across. You cannot turn around and say, I haven't met the right person. Because it has nothing to do with meeting, it has to do with attracting. So if you're not attracting the right person in your life, or you've attracted somebody and it ends, it's because you don't believe you're lovable. And I don't care what your defense mechanism is right now, if you don't admit that, you'll never have somebody at your side. Ever. And if you come up with, well, do we really need somebody at our side? If you're here this lifetime around, the answer to that is yes. Jesus said, live in the world, not of the world. What did he mean by that? What he meant by that was, when you decide to incarnate on earth, the time that you're incarnating, they're playing a game. And there's rules of the game that they created to play that game. So live in the world. Play that game. You can't go down there and play Monopoly if everybody else is playing chess. Now, you don't have to play like everybody else, not of the world. You don't have to cheat, step all over each other just to win. Actually, the winning doesn't count. It's the playing that counts. And if you're here right now, part of the playing, part of the pieces that you have to go around on the board is marriage and monogamy. Before it wasn't that. We didn't have that same thing. It wasn't about monogamy. It was about something else. And before that, there was no marriage at all. But because things fell apart, we're trying to learn how to bring it back together again. And so we created the concept of marriage and monogamy. So if you're here this time around, you can assure yourself you had planned on experiencing that in a positive way, not a negative way. Now, is it going to be so bad if you don't? Now you'll just kick yourself in the spiritual butt when you get on the other side, because you'll feel incomplete. And you'll come back and try it again. But you're not going to make it work that time either. If you do not understand, you must believe you're lovable in order to make that happen. Because it's your unconscious core beliefs that manifest, not your conscious beliefs. So the little kid inside of there that walked out of your house as a young adult, that blamed him or herself for everything that went on, and is saying, I'm not lovable because that's the only answer we can come up with when we're little kids. Why we weren't treated right. I'm not lovable. That's the influence that's hitting that energy when you send it out into the universe, no matter what else you say, and it's bringing back relationships that don't work. Because that's what you expect. If you have no money in your life, it's because you don't believe you deserve any. I don't deserve any. If you don't have a rewarding career, it's because you believe I'm not good enough. And if you have bad health, not only is it because of all those emotions that you got packed away, but the major emotion you've got packed away is, I deserve this. I'm not worthy enough to have a great life. Because those are the things we're taught when we're younger. And if we don't face those things, you don't have to go through psychoanalysis to figure out what it was that hurt you. I just told you. The most important thing is just accept that. And whatever the situation was that caused those beliefs, whether mom and dad weren't there enough, whether there was abuse emotionally, physically, or no words at all, most of my time, people, I spend bursting people's bubbles. And culturally, in the South, they like to create bubbles. Because it was about appearance then. That's how, in the antebellum South, those women and those families had to look strong. Because while the Civil War was going on, they could not show their weakness. Well, that became part of their character. And that's why they always say, bless your heart, when they really mean go to hell. So they're covering themselves. Oh, I had a fabulous childhood. Mumsy and Daddy were just wonderful. And I'm like wondering, okay, you're on your third marriage. You've got thyroid issues. You hate your job. You've got all this anxiety. But you had a happy childhood. Okay, great. Mom and Dad, they told you all the time how much... Oh, no, no, they never talked emotions. I never heard the word I love you. Well, then how'd you know that they loved you? Well, we just did. How did you know you did? They did. How did you know? Well, when they were there, they fed us, we had a house, they were so nice, we spent time together. Did they hold you, hug you, caress you, give attention to you? People, one of the things you have to understand about emotional human needs. When we, back in the old days, when we first existed, two people didn't raise us. An entire community raised us. There were 10, 15, 20 seniors and adults attending to all the children in the community. And when you didn't get the right attention from this one person, you had 19 others to give you that attention, that affection, that holding, that caressing. That's what we need. And you're telling me you're going to get it all from two parents, and mostly today, 1.5. It doesn't work. You've got to understand that. So you didn't have enough love. You never did. But you have to give it to yourself now. So understand that. Once you face those I'm nots, I call them. Again, it's in my CD. It's in the environmental made mind. And I call it the environmental made mind because as we're children, we absorb. We just absorb all of the stimulation from the environment, negative or positive. We're constantly absorbing that. Right? When you face those feelings, you can then disempower them. And they don't have as much control over your life now. And you need to do that, and with whether you had an NDE or not, you need to go with inside of you and say, I am willing to recognize what my purpose is here. I am willing. I want it. Bring it on. Bring it on. And say it with meaning here. And say it without fear. And don't give a damn if you can't figure out what that's going to look like or how the money is going to come in. The universe takes care of us. And remember, you're part of that universe. It will always bring you your needs. So many of you have experienced that without even asking you get your needs met. As a matter of fact, the needs are already met. We actually stop them if we don't have them. Just like relationships, they're already out there. Just like form, which form is already out there. Everything you need in this lifetime is already out there. You are actually letting it come in with belief of yourself, or you're pushing it away with lack of belief and self-love. It's either one or the other. That's it. Oh, and by the way, that's the other thing that I'm controversial about. Life is black or white, period. If you want to believe there's gray areas, you'll neither be here nor there. Those people are the ones who are neither here nor there, created the shades of gray. There's no such thing as shades of gray except in art. It's only black or white. You're either making a high choice, you're making a low choice. There's no middle choice. You either feel love or you don't feel love. You're either happy or you're not happy. Keep it that simple, people. It makes it a lot easier for us to correct things and get on the path. You're either on the path, you're off the path. That's all. One day you're going to be on, the next day you're feeling a little bit down, okay? Now you recognize it. What do I have to do? Oh, I have to do all of this stuff. No, you don't. You just have to get to the other side. Just flip it. There's no middle, or I'm in the process. And we say things like, I'm doing better now than I did before. Why? Why do we have to say that? It's almost as if you're setting yourself up to not do better again. And you're using everything you can to convince yourself you're okay. Instead of just saying, I'm great. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Not I'm doing better. I'm doing great. Yeah, you can say you should have seen me 5 years ago. And if you all look back 5, 10 years, of course you're doing better. We don't go backwards. All of this, I took 2 steps forward and 10 steps back. Never. Otherwise, you'd wind up back in the womb of your mother with that many steps backwards that we take, supposedly. And since we know that's impossible, you're only taking 1 step backward, but you're focused more on the backward step than the forward step. So I know all of you have gifts in here. Every single one of you. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have them. And I know every one of you is supposed to make a difference in life. Not just yours. That's why we were put together. For 2 reasons. To love yourself. Oh, here's another thing. Those are other words that were mixed up. Actually, purposely mixed up. 2 top commandments, Jesus said. Love God with all your heart and all your might, and love your neighbor as yourself. He would have never said, love your neighbor as yourself, because he knew nobody loved themselves. So why would he want you to love your neighbor the same way you love yourself? That's exactly what was going on. You were loving your neighbor the same as yourself. Not at all. What he really said was, because he first and always said, the kingdom of God is within you, it's not a place, and I and my Father are one, and so are you. So he came down to teach us who we were, not who he was, and he was trying to tell us we were God. So love that God within you, with all your heart and all your might. And as you love yourself then, you will be able to love your neighbor, and you will want to. So you're here not just for you. Your artwork is not just for you. Your writing is not just for you. Whatever you do is not just for you. It's always for others as well. Because you know what? You know why I do this now? I wish I can bottle the feeling. You know, I have so many people that come in front of me and you all want to feel, if you haven't, what I feel. Because it's so empowering. On Wednesday night, I had a woman, and even this woman here who went out of her way to make such an incredible cake. She did that because I talked with her, because I touched her life. And a woman on Friday came up to me, Thursday, and came up to me and held me, and she said, you don't understand how you changed my life. It's been incredible since I've been talking to you. That's why I do this. That's why I got these gifts to start with, because I knew how painful it was to be hurt, to have no self-belief whatsoever. And then somebody turns around and says, you've changed my life. And you made me believe in myself. You're my brothers. You're my sisters. And if I get to go home and be happy on the other side and you're still left unhappy, how can I continue to be happy? I can't unless we all go home, unless we're all happy. So will I work my ass off to do that? Yes, absolutely. That's why we're here. Because it's an incredible feeling when you can do that. What I'd like to offer now is, I want to make some connections in the remaining time that I have, and then do something special right at the end to share another part of me. But I'm going to go in, and I'm going to, the way I do it is I just call upon the spirits. I let them come in, and one will start communicating with me and give me evidence. I do evidential mediumship, which means I need and require evidence from them that means something to the person I'm connecting the spirit to. So that you know that this is the person who is here. It's not just a matter of me coming up with, oh yes, I'm talking to Mom. And how do you know I'm really talking to Mom? That's what evidential mediumship. And evidential mediumship actually was brought originally from a gentleman here who then went to England and perfected it over there. They do nothing but evidential mediumship there. Because it's a religion. It's actually spiritualism is an actual church. You can go to a church, a spiritualist church, and in the service, there's mediums that give mediumship connections because it's a way of proving the continuity of life to the people who attend. So I'm going to get some evidence. I'll throw it out there asking who's with me on this. If it sounds like somebody who is related to you that you know, raise your hand high for me to see. There usually is about 2, 3 people because I keep it fairly general in the beginning, and then I'll keep giving more evidence until it narrows it down to one person. All right, and since we don't have a microphone to go out to everybody, I will ask you to stand, whoever makes the connection with, and ask you to speak up while I'm asking you questions. Now, I do have to ask you questions, and people, what you see on TV is entertainment. It doesn't mean, and I'm not saying that Teresa Caputo or the celebrity medium aren't good, but the way you see it on TV, it's produced. Okay? The producer is wanting to do a good show, so he's going around there, tossing up ideas. What do you want to... I got a great idea. You're in a bakery and you're shopping for cupcakes for your daughter's birthday party. Okay? And the person who's helping you, let's see if you can make a connection and get a dead person. That makes for a good show. Now he goes shopping around. Let's pick a really cute bakery. Ooh, here's one. This is really nice. There's all cupcakes in the window. This is cool. And then they go in. Is it okay if Teresa Caputo, who is the Long Island medium, oh, the Long Island medium's here, oh yeah, I'm going to be on TV, yay! And sends her in. Go see if you can do a reading. She walks in there, she starts looking around, she asks exactly what I'm going to be doing here. And she's asking question upon question upon question. Okay, she makes a connection. Great, wonderful. Everybody signs the release, and they get instruction. Teresa's going to leave. When she comes back in, just make believe it's the first time. They have to. Did you ever ask yourself, why do you hear the people speaking? That's not Teresa. They have to be mic'd. And if you know anything about the entertainment industry, before they're even on TV and get recorded, they have to sign a release. Before the recording, not after the recording. And then they edit it. So now it looks like Teresa is going boom, 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 boom with the evidence because they cut out the, no. No, that's not her. No. Yes, yes, that's her. So they put all the S's together. Oh my God, she looks spectacular. Otherwise, you'd never tune in the next week. But it doesn't mean she's bad. You know, as a medium, do you go boom, 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 boom? Oh my God, you're incredible. You know, there's all of this stuff that they don't talk to us like we're on iPhone. Yes, Apple is coming up with an app real soon. I know it. Connecting with the afterlife. I can't wait until it comes out. It makes it so much easier. But in between, there's a lot of stuff, and they have a hard time communicating it. So I'm going to feed that to you. You'll help me. It's a three-way connection here between you, me, and the medium, and the spirit. Okay? So right now, I've got a male in here. Whoops. He's raising his hands, which means he was physical. He's showing me he looks about in his late 60s, early 70s, which is the time he probably passed. But he was physical. He's showing me he was tough, he was physical, he was an emotional guy, he didn't take care of his emotional needs, and he's telling me that he's taking it out on his family. So this is a father figure, possibly grandfather, but father, I'm seeing more than grandfather. Dark hair, he's showing me dark hair to start with, and then it went gray and he lost a lot of it. Round face, not tall, but he's slumping over. But he's slumping over because of his emotions, so I can't really tell exactly how tall he is. But his emotions, he's feeling down. So he's emotionally depressed. or sad. He's sad because of what he did. He had big fingers and big hands. So he may have even as a living done some physical laborious work. I'm seeing that with the black shoes, you know, the work shoes. All right, so far, father figure, dark, physical person who may have been physically abusive, whether it be to you or whether it be to his wife or somebody else. Tougher guy. Then went balding and gray, still with the dark hair, rounder face. Who's with me on this so far? Okay, raise your hand high for me, please. Okay, got a couple of you. All right. I'll get more information. Okay. And it just popped into my head, and maybe when he was younger, he drove either a 57 Chevy. He said something about a Chevy being one of his cars. Of the people who have their hand raised, they're still, all right, we're narrowing it down. Are you two together?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. And we're talking about the same person then, right?
No.
Or two different people?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting, but you came together.
Yes.
Well, that's really interesting that somebody's coming out possibly for either one of you here. Okay, and definitely he's saying the physical abuse. So raising the hand was this, and a father. So this is a father figure. Is there any other hands than these two people right here? Yes. Could you do me a favor? I need you people to stand. It's easier for me to be able to please. Okay, and critical words. Critical words. He gave you a heart. Your father, is this a father figure for you? This is your father. Who's deceased? Was he really critical of you? Could you also, because he told me to go right to you. So thank you. I'm sorry?
He had a 57 Chevy.
He had a 57 Chevy. Okay, excuse me. He can't apologize enough. I'm feeling, one of the gifts that I feel I have is I get to feel them and their emotions. And he's been gone for a little bit. Yeah, so he's evolved a lot. And you didn't deserve anything that I did to you. You were such a good kid. And I see you on this side, and you're such a good person. In spite of me, when you could have been so bad, I was a fool. That's all I keep hearing, is I was a fool. I said, can you help others? Can you do that? Will you allow yourself to do that because you've got such a big heart? And mostly, will you forgive me? Okay, this is so interesting, and my wife has heard this 1,000,001 times recently from me, because I guess it's because the Christmas thing that's so stuck in me, and trains. That they immediately want us to talk about trains and train sets. What does that stick out with you?
We had train sets.
You had train sets?
Yeah.
Okay, do you still have them now? Because he's saying, this next Christmas, do you celebrate Christmas?
No.
Or you don't celebrate Christmas, but when did you put the trains out? I celebrate Christmas, that's when I put my trains out. When did you play with the trains?
I don't remember. Yeah.
You don't ever remember?
Yeah.
He's saying, he needs you to recreate a good part of your childhood to help you heal. And he's saying the trains will bring you to a good time. And then, and push me aside that took away that good time, but put the trains up, and I want you to start remembering how good you were from that, and give your child, that's you, a break. Okay? And because you became me to you more than you know. Stop criticizing yourself. And you need to love yourself again. He said, that's all my fault. I'm around you, and I'm doing everything I can to help you at this point. But you have to do the rest now. You have to do the rest. And when I got over here, just know right away, I knew I was wrong. I knew I was wrong during it. I didn't know how to control it. You know me. I didn't know how to control it. But it had nothing to do with you. And what is he talking? Do you have a brother? there's no other male, because he's talking about a brother on the other side. Did you have a friend or anybody? First, I want to find that out before I find out whether or not mom lost the baby. Nope, sorry, stop. Mom miscarried. I don't know if you knew that. He said you have a brother here. He said the spiritual part of you, you know things, correct? Okay. You're being fed that too from your brother on the other side. So he's watching over you, and he's been with you he says he's been with you very long. So he must have come out before you. Mom must have been pregnant, lost it, but they would never talk about that. And he's saying, but he's here, he stayed. The soul that decided to come in, that was going to be born, but then was lost, decided to stay with you. And he's been feeding you, and he said, you hear me, you hear me, you hear me. Keep opening up the door. And he really, now is the time to talk to God more than you've ever talked to God before. Because God is saying, you're a reason why I keep the earth going. Because you give hope to all my children. You're one of the people who give hope. Because I know in your hurt, okay, you make some lower choices sometimes, yeah, so what? But you're a better person than you are not. And you got to start loving that. And that is asking to please forgive him and mostly forgive you and move forward with you know what you're supposed to do and how you can help. So will you do that? Will you take that from him?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your mother deceased? Right. Okay. This isn't actually for you. Right? This is for you. It's Grandma. Okay. So let's talk about that Grandma coming in first. So Grandma is here. Well, she told me I was
We
like.
went to the cemetery before we
We
came
just
here.
went to
Before we went to see you today and visited her grave.
And you visited her grave. Well, Grandma came. All right. So she okay. All right. This is very funny. All right, so Grandma, let me get some evidence from Grandma first, which is really interesting. Okay, there's things that the two of you used to talk about that she wouldn't talk about with anybody else. She treated you differently than anybody else. What would you feel about that?
She's talking about her?
Yes.
Say it again.
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. Grandma said that, well, I'll make it simple. She's making it simple. I interacted with you different than I interacted with other grandchildren. She had other grandchildren, right? But I interacted with you different than the other grandchildren. Would you think that? Yes. Was that a true or is it okay? It's a definite true. Could you do me a favor and stand up? I know you're shy, but stand up anyway. Okay. And she wants you to know she did that intentionally, not because you were worse than, because you were special. Okay? Are you, okay, what, she's showing me pictures or something? Did you used to make pictures for Grandma when you were younger? Okay, and she used to take them and she pridefully took them? She did, okay. She's showing me that. And she gave me evidence, okay, not to laugh at your artwork as a child, but she's talking about that your stick figures and your whether it was a dog or a cat or anything that you drew was really funny and cute. Is that true? Like when you used to draw? Okay, it was true. But she said you liked also using certain colors. Like would you use crayons too when you drew? And were there special colors that you wound up using all the time, whether it be pink or red or purple? Purple, she's trying to show me some colors. Did that stand out for you? Did that make sense? You've seen purple, okay. Here's a purple is my favorite color. Okay, very spiritual. Okay, and okay, that's interesting because she's talking about feeding you when she used to make some things for you, things you did like that she made. But isn't there something you didn't like that Grandma made that she would try to make you eat and you just didn't like it? What was that? Can't remember?
But I was young. So.
Right, you were young, okay. Yeah, she was saying that. You might remember that later or something, and so that's why she's feeding it to you. Okay. All right, so Grandma is here to talk about relationships. And she needs you to set your mind. So, are you currently involved with a boyfriend? There's nobody. But there's been some interest in the past. Yeah, no, didn't like him. No, no, and so Grandma is here to talk to you about love. And that you need to start believing how you're deserving of some real knight in shining armor, please. And for some reason, you weren't necessarily taught that you were a princess who deserved a knight in shining armor, because there was somebody missing who didn't really teach that well enough to you. Is that correct? Yeah. That's usually Dad's role.
Yeah, my left mouth.
And so what that leaves a little girl, and even at that age, is the lack of belief, because it's the father's job to make you women feel like you're princesses. What does that mean? That you're strong, okay? That you're balanced, that you appreciate your divine feminine, which means your intuition, your nurturing side, your creative side, your emotional side. Daddies can make you feel that. Yes, Mommy's reinforced how to take care of yourself and listen to those intuitions, but daddies make you feel you deserve those nights. You deserve love. Okay? And so whenever there's one lacking, either through death, divorce, or lack of emotional input, then you don't know what to attract. You really don't. And you are such a gift to the world. And you are a gift to somebody else. Right? And it's time, I know you're young, but it's time to open up the door to the possibility of real love, and not the love that you've been attracting before, because you've not attracted any love, by the way. Okay? It's been fake. But the time is, you wouldn't be coming here unless it's like you're ready. You're ready to experience somebody giving you unconditional love, but you got to love yourself first. So she's telling me, she's saying, give that exercise that you give that exercise that you give. Okay, yeah. I need you to write a list, and this goes for every single person in here. Write a list and title the list, Top 10 Things I Want in a Partner. Everybody else remember this. Top 10 Things I Want in a Partner. List your top 10 things. I know you can list 20 of them, but narrow it down to 10. As soon as you finish the 10th one, go back to the title, cross out partner, and put me. Top 10 things I want in me. Because that's going to guarantee you the partner who has the same top 10 things. Because like attracts like. And there's another thing Grandma wants you to do. She says, see if you can. I don't know if your mother can, but see if you can. I want you to stop going to the cemetery. And I want you to get rid of the picture. Because I'm neither there, nor is my energy. I want you and me to talk together anytime you want. All you have to do is sit down. All you have to do is sit down and say, Grandma, are you there? He said, you send that out to me, I'm going to be right next to you. I don't want you to go to that place over there because I'm not dead. That place just holds my body. Let me ask you a question. If you sell your car, do you go to the junkyard to visit it every so often? No, why not? It's a vehicle that got you around, right? Well, it's the same thing with our bodies that we're buried in the ground. We think we have to go. If you really believe that there's life after death, why are you visiting the dead people? The bodies. No more. She wants one-on-one, and she said, and you'll know I'm there. She says, and pay attention. The butterflies especially. If you start seeing butterflies, that's me. And even if before the caterpillars, she says, watch, I don't know why she's pointing out, one of those big fuzzy caterpillars you're about ready to come across. She says, I'm sending that to you to let you know you're about ready to go into your cocoon and become the butterfly that you're meant to be. So when you see the next caterpillar, that's Grandma's message that you're ready. And then expect some things in your life to change right after that. And be accepting of yourself. Can you accept that from Grandma?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Just point it over here. I know you're sitting so quietly and peaceful like that. Yes, you. Yes, the woman right behind you in the gray. Right behind you. Yes, her right here. Yeah, I know, aren't you surprised? Is this your husband? He leaned away from you real quick. He didn't even know he did it. It was subtle. It was like... Did you have a good relationship with your grandmother? With one of your grandmothers? Great-grandmother? Which one was it that you were closer to? Mom's side. Mom's side of the family. Could it have been an aunt? Because they're pointing me to you, and they're talking about somebody older who's deceased there. So it's either grandmother, great-grandmother, or aunt or great-aunt. Who was it that you were the closest to? I'm sorry?
Aunt.
Your aunt. Regular aunt, not great-aunt. Okay? Did this aunt either help take care of you at any time or spend a lot of time with you when you were younger? A little. You have health issues going on right now. Is that correct? Yes. Yes. Okay. I want to make sure that I'm getting the right person coming in here. She pointed me directly to you. All right, so... But you knew your grandparents, is that correct? One more than another. Are you trying to remember? You don't remember anymore. Ah, okay. All right. Would you also not remember the relationship you had with them? You don't remember. Okay. All right, well, I still believe that it's Grandma again who's here. I think it's Mom's mom is what she's saying. So I'm not going to be able to give you a ton of evidence other than what she's telling me about you now. And you had a very hard, and if you can confirm, if her husband can confirm any of this for me too, that would be helpful, okay? Because he knows you, right? He knows you well. Long time he knows you. Right? You guys have been married for a while now, right? God bless you. Grandma's telling me you had a very hard past, a childhood, very hard childhood. Is that correct? Do you remember that? Or you don't remember that?
Some of it, yes.
Some of it you remember, okay. A lot of memory loss, right? That you've been experiencing. All right, that's actually a gift to you. And I'm going to tell you why it's a gift. Alzheimer's and dementia is not a disease. It's your mind protecting you again. I have never met, and I did research while I was in school on patients that had Alzheimer's and dementia. I never met one who had a happy childhood. My mother was sexually molested and she abused her children. She had Alzheimer's and forgot it all. Because as you get older, you do nothing but reminisce. And you assess your past. And how painful to spend the rest of your years thinking of all of the pains you've been through and the hurt you may have brought on to other people. So your mind will shut down the memory. Isn't it amazing how Alzheimer's doesn't turn off your vision? It turns off your memories. Why memories? Why that specifically? She needs you to know how watched over you are right now. By God, by the angels, They love you both tremendously. And they are taking, you've been a good person in your life. And you didn't intentionally ever lash out at somebody, not intentionally. Yeah, we make mistakes. Yeah, we say negative things. Yeah, you treated them like crap sometimes. Yeah, well, all wives do that to their husbands. I'm sorry, honey. But they need you to know how proud they are of you. You don't take time to appreciate who you really are. And now is the time to do that, both of you. To know that you're loved, okay? And to know that you're not alone. I know life can be hard, life can be difficult at times. It really can, but it doesn't mean that we're alone going through that. We're growing. Look at you. You're here to share, to experience something, to continue because you care. There is a part of you. Doesn't matter. You're still here. You're still listening. Let it sink into your soul how loved you really are. Will you do that for me and everybody else? They love you very much. It's like you can be the mama of the entire city. I know, really. You don't want, no, don't come over for Thanksgiving. But you are. You have that much love in your heart, even if you don't remember you do. All right? It's part of you. You're just a good person. Start paying attention to that so that you can feel even better about yourself, okay? All right, thank you very much. Yes, I was a performer. I love using any of those qualities I can to inspire people. And I want to end this with a special song, if you will indulge me, to allow me to sing again. I know you heard me last year. Tough. You're going to hear me again whether you want to or not. That's what you get for coming. This song really says and speaks a lot of who I was. And listen to the words of it, because it's about finally opening our hearts and our eyes and our ears and going after the life that we know we're meant to go after, that we want to go after. But you got to let go of some certain things. So this is a song that means so much to me, and I really would like to share that with you now, okay? I've been looking for my dreams to turn into something I could believe in, and looking for that magic rainbow on the horizon. I couldn't see it until I let go, gave in to love, watched all the bitterness burn. Now I'm coming alive, body and soul, watching my world start to turn. And I'll taste every moment and live it out loud. I know this is the time. This is the time to be more than a thing or a face in the crowd. I know this is the time. This is the time of my life. Time of my life. Holding on to things that vanished into the air, left me in pieces, but now I'm arising from the ashes, finding my wings, and all that I needed was there all along, within my reach, within the beat of my heart. And I'll taste every moment and live it out loud. I know this is the time. This is the time to be more than a name or a face in the crowd. I know this is the time. This is the time of my life. Time of my life. And I'm now on the edge of forever, ready to rise. This is the time of my